Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a hidden signature spine. I've received a lot of questions, so I put together a tutorial for you. So here I have my nature books that I've set up, and one of them I have the signatures sewn in and the other one I don't. They are slightly different styles, and if you're interested in these journals, I will have a link for them listed below so you can go and see a flip through of them. So you're going to want a wax thread. It doesn't have to be wax linen. It can be. It's just I found that working with wax thread is easier. Book fabric if you have it. If not, Kraft-Tex will work. If not, you don't have Kraft-Tex, then you can use file folder or cardstock. So if you're going to use cardstock, I recommend that you do scoring. If you're going to use Kraft-Tex, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but in here in this journal I have used the book fabric, which I got mine on Amazon, and I will have that link below so you can see what I'm talking about. So in here on this one I used cardstock. It was file folder that I used, and I scored it like I said. And these, you're going to want to make sure you get the measurements of your spine and that you stay within the parameters of your spine when you're using cardstock. And the same with when you're using anything else. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and get out some linen book fabric. And it has paper backing, so the glue does not go through, which I really love about the paper fabric. You can make it yourself, but it's a little bit more difficult for me. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that yet, so I just stuck with buying mine for now. On these ones, on this cover, I've already picked out my signature. I've already got my signatures out. My spine is 2 inches by 9 inches. So when I cut my fabric down, I'm going to cut it to 2 inches, or sorry, not 2 inches. I'm going to cut my fabric to 9 by 4. So I'll have an inch on each side. And you're going to want to use a flexible glue. For example, Aleene's Fabri-Tac, not Fabri-Tac. You can use Fabri-Tac, or you can use Aleene's Tacky Glue or PVA. I like to use PVA, but I couldn't find it for this tutorial, so I used I went ahead and used Aleene's Tacky Glue. So since my spine is 2 inches, I want an inch on each side left over. So I'm going to measure so that there's 2 inches in the center. And I mark my top. And now I'm going to draw my lines so I know to stay within the parameters of those lines. I have 5 signatures. So I'm going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So I need to center my ruler, and I'm going to mark 3 lines. And then I'm going to go ahead on here and measure out my 5 plate. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to measure out the area I'm going to put my 5 signatures. Using professional book fabric, so I can write on the back because it's paper. And don't worry about it. Whatever side you decide to use to write on, you're going to be gluing that side down anyway, so don't worry about it. Now I'm going to line up my lines, or center my lines so I can draw them, and make sure I stay within the parameters that I drew for myself earlier. And now I have those 3 lines that I marked before for the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I do my best to stay within the 2-inch parameters again. If you've done the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, then you know what you're doing. And if not, then I will have another tutorial posted below so you can see it in more detail. This is a cheat sheet that I use. I always get a piece of paper that's the size, about the same size as my signatures, and I will line it up when I poke my holes. So that way when I poke my holes, I can just have it as the same measurement and use it with my signatures. And I'm just poking holes where the lines crossed, and that way it's all even. And there on the back of the book fabric, I had my cheat sheet, so I'm just going to fold that in half, make sure the holes are in the center. And I'm going to put the cheat sheet in the center of my signature, and then put my holes through. So there are 3 holes. I take the cheat sheet out, and then I get ready to sew them in. Now I used a thin thread. I use more than I need most of the time because I'd rather have too much than not enough. So this is a wax linen thread, and then there's just a wax thread. The wax thread is thinner. So I'm going to go through the middle, then I'm going to go in through the top, and I always leave some thread hanging out the center. And then from there I'm going to go through the bottom hole, pull through, and then go back through the center. Now this is important. When I go through the center, I don't want to go through any of the thread that I did, and then I make sure there's a piece of thread on each side and I tie them in a knot. So I'm going to go ahead and do this a couple more times. I think of it kind of like a staple, the way it appears. So again, I'm going to attach my cheat sheet, make sure my pages are lined up, and there's 3 holes, so I'm going to go through the center to begin, and make sure you leave a tail sticking out. And don't forget to remove the paper because sometimes I forget and I have to do it again. So you go through the center, then go through your spine, go up through the top, then pull your thread down and go through the bottom hole. Then you make sure everything's tightened up, and you're going to put your needle through the center again. Now make sure you tie your thread the right way, and your thread should cross over the center thread when you tie it. So there's my cheat sheet one more time. And I will poke my holes. Third one I slowed down a lot. So in case you haven't done it before, you can go ahead and follow. Thread your needle. You're going to go through the center. Make sure you go through your book fabric and leave a little tail. Go through the top hole. Then go down through your bottom hole. Now you're going to tighten your threads up and then go through the center again. Make sure your threads are separated and you don't cross through any of them. And when you tie it, you're going to want to cross those threads over the one that's in the center. I hope that makes sense. So I double knot mine. Make sure everything's tight and it's not going to fall out before you tie it. Because practice makes perfect. I really like this wax thread because it's thinner and it works better for this kind of writing method. When I'm trying to hide it because it makes the thread is thinner. So again, I'm going to go to the center, leave a tail, then I'm going to go through the top, and I always flip it over, so it's easier. When I go down, go through the bottom. Make sure everything's tight, and go back to the center. Make sure you don't pull too hard on the pages. You are more than welcome to use extra paper clips if you need to. So last time I'm going to thread my needle. I'm going to go through the center and be sure to leave a small tail. And then I'm going to go through the top, turn it around, and go down past the second hole and in through the bottom. And I like to tighten everything up right here so it's easier to go through the center. And then make sure it's all good and tie it in. I double knot mine. Not yours, however you're comfortable. You can reverse this method if you want to, but for this situation you don't need to. So now that that's all done, that's what it'll look like. All my pages are in, they're all even. Now I'm going to get some double-sided tape, and I think Sugway is the best brand for this. I haven't actually found one that's better. If you have red line's pretty good. And I just put tape along the edges. I'll also have Debbie Ann's tutorial for how she hides her spines. Just how I learned how to do it. I just changed mine a little bit. I used different material, and I think more glue. So I'm using tacky glue. Like I said, you can use Fabri-Tac, you can use PVA, whatever's easiest. And when you're doing this part, just keep in mind that you want to have full coverage on your spine. So that means use glue. Use plenty of glue. Not so much that it's seeping out the edges. I find the tape helps with that also, but you want it to be good coverage, like not drying before you put it on. You don't want lumps in your spine where your signatures are supposed to be stuck down. You can use a paintbrush for this part. I use my finger. Now I'm going to take off the edge, the shorter pieces of tape before I glue it down. It helps me center it better. So this part you're going to want to be careful. You want to make sure that the signatures are how they're supposed to be, and make sure it's right side up, because I almost had mine upside down there. Take your time with this. There's not any super fast rush unless your glue is quick drying glue. And I go on each side and I push it down, and I found my bone folder, so I use my bone folders and my fingers to make sure everything's in place. Make sure you check both sides, and then go ahead once you have it how you want it and peel off that extra tape. And because you're using flexible fabric, it's going to be more forgiving in the glue oil as well. So I pushed that down into the spine and the edges, and I'm going to go ahead and peel the other side off. And just slowly press it down. And make sure it's stuck in there. And then I go between the signatures from there, and I make sure it's all pressed down. So each signature I go between, and I use my bone folder and my fingers. make sure it's all secure. And if you don't like the side showing where you put your spine down, you can always add lace, you can add washi tape, anything you want to use. So just, be careful with your spine and take your time with it. There's no rush, and have fun. It looks great when you're finished, and it's all hidden. And it should be very flexible. The craft text and the book fabric, I noticed, is very flexible and forgiving. So done, I tie it up and I leave it to sit on the spine for a little bit. So gravity hopefully does its thing. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.